Welcome to another episode of Out of Spec Dave, where today I'm going to be talking about battery preconditioning, and I'm going to be checking it out and testing it in the GV60, which is a 2023, which does come with battery preconditioning. Now, I've heard a little bit of noise from mostly the Ionic guys that are out there, and as a matter of fact, the Ionic guy himself put a video up about a month ago where he went into the dealership and got the software update that you have to go into the dealership with, even though the car does over-the-air updates, and he's not finding that his battery preconditioning is working right. I've seen other things where it is working right. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little controlled experiment and test out whether the battery preconditioning on the 2023 GV60 works or not. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to be doing today. I'm in the 2023 GV60, which is from Genesis. This car does have an option in the menu under EV for options. You can actually choose to turn on battery preconditioning. And the way that this works is a battery will take the optimum amount of energy, or the most amount of energy, if it's at the right temperature. If your battery temperature is below that 20 degrees Celsius temperature, then theoretically what it should do is turn on the battery preconditioning and heat up the battery pack to at least 20 degrees Celsius. Now, what's really interesting to me is that it's a very minor little thing that you can see. Nowhere on the navigation screen does it actually show you that your battery is being warmed up. I think one time I saw something on the screen for a second or two that said battery preconditioning initiated or something like that on this GV60, but I never saw that. I haven't seen it in the last like 3 or 4 times that I've done battery preconditioning. But what you do see is next to the state of charge, it changes to an amber. It's almost like a coil, and it's amber in color, and it really is telling you that your car is preconditioning. So that's a something to keep note of. Now, if the car decides to do preconditioning, but you're only, let's say you're 10 miles away from the station, and you're at 8 or 9 degrees Celsius, which is what I'm at right now in terms of where I'm driving the car to get over there. You know, what's going to happen is that's not enough time to heat up the battery. What you want to see is somewhere between 30 and 40 miles away from the station where you're going to charge, that the battery will start to warm up. So when you arrive, you can take on more energy. And that's what we're going to be testing today. So the way we're going to do this is I'm driving over to Trumbull right now. I'm not preconditioning. And I'm going to arrive there. I think it's going to be around a 35% state of charge is what I'm sort of targeting the arrival state of charge to be. And I'm probably going to be in that 8 to 9 degrees Celsius temperature on the battery pack, which is quite, not super optimal. Now, it's 48 degrees out. And one would think that by driving the car over without preconditioning, that's going to warm up the battery pack. Well, it really doesn't. You really need like a hot day, or you need to be yo-yoing the car and driving it hard, and then giving it gas, giving it regen, giving it gas, giving it acceleration, and then backing off and then regenning. That will heat up the battery. So if, for example, you have a 2022 Ionic 5 and you haven't gone into the dealership yet to get the preconditioning update, software update, which gives you the option in the menu to turn on preconditioning, yo-yo that sucker, right? It's funny, if you see an Ionic 5 going down the road doing 80 and then doing 40 and then doing 80 and doing 40, he's probably not an idiot. All he's trying to do is heat up his battery pack, so leave him alone, right? I've done that, and I've had people look at me weird. But be careful with that. I'm not advocating that you do that. What I'm advocating is that you understand this new battery preconditioning function that's being released to the 2022 Ioniq 5s. I think it's come standard in the 2023s, and as I mentioned before, it is standard in the GV60. So we're going to plug in at roughly a 35% state of charge without preconditioning, and we're going to document how fast we're going to actually receive the energy in. Now, I don't really care if I'm at a 350 or a 150 today, but what I do care is that I use the same station for the first charging session where I'm not preconditioning. So for the second part of this scientific experiment today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave EA with 50% state of charge. I want to return back to EA with 35% state of charge. So I'm going to go up the road and I'm going to turn battery preconditioning on so that the battery can start to heat up. But I'm going to arrive back at the station at 30. My goal is to arrive back at 35% state of charge again. And if I am in that 65 to 75 kilowatts range in terms of what I'm pulling when I don't precondition, I want to see what am I going to pull when I do precondition and the battery is warmer. And it'll be interesting to see how warm the battery preconditioning actually heats up the pack to. So that's going to be the experiment today. I'm interested to see what it does, and I'm also interested to see that if it works. And when I say work, does it turn on battery preconditioning soon enough so that it gives it ample time, the car, to actually warm up? So let's see what happens. All right, so we are charging here, and let's check out what kind of speeds we're going to get. Now, this is with a situation where the battery is actually at 8 degrees and 9 degrees Celsius average. I'm pulling 72 kilowatts, which is poor. 36% state of charge. And, you know, normally if this battery pack were upwards of 20 degrees, 21 degrees Celsius, which is around 72 degrees Fahrenheit, this car on a 150 should be pulling, you know, at least 150. I've seen upwards of 175 because, again, it's an 800 volt system. So a little bit frustrating here that both 350s are not working, but that's really not going to affect my test today, because what I really want to do is drive the car up the road. I'm going to charge up to, let's go up to 50% state of charge here from, I pulled in at 35% state of charge, and yeah, I think I'll take it up to 50% state of charge, and then what I'll do is I will drive it back to the same exact charger that I'm plugged in now for a little bit of a controlled experiment, and then but I will actually put this as a destination, and I'll be able to see what kind of speeds I'm pulling. Hopefully the battery preconditioning works. So let's see what happens. So folks, check this out. My first sighting in the wild of a Mercedes EQS, and I gotta tell you, I love this thing. I like it so much better than the sedan. I've just met some nice folks who are on a road trip from Massachusetts passing through. They pulled in. I told them, good news for you, both 350s are limited to 50 kilowatts. Pull over here to the 150 I just pulled out, and they plugged in. And I was super anxious and curious to know if plug and charge worked for them. Now look, they're all smiles. This is only 1 week into ownership. They plugged in and the freaking thing worked. How beautiful is that? And look at this. They're not pulling super high fast. They're at 12% state of charge. They're pulling 90 kilowatts. I would imagine as the battery pack heats up, they're gonna pull, but what a beautiful rig this is. Oh my goodness. I like this thing. Okay, so as I'm leaving the Trumbull Mall at a 50% state of charge, we're gonna take this car out, we're gonna drive it, and then I'm gonna put in my destination as the same exact station that I was just at here in Trumbull, and we're gonna see what the battery pack heats up to. But I am going to put on battery preconditioning now once I get up there. So we'll be able to test and see what the difference is putting on battery preconditioning versus not having battery preconditioning. Still 48 degrees out, which is not super cold, Obviously, the benefits of what I'm doing today would be even bigger the colder it gets. Anything you could do to heat up the battery pack is going to do two things for you. The first is it's going to increase the speed with which you can charge, but it's also going to give you greater range. If your battery pack is warmer, you might be able to add 40, 50 miles to your range if your battery is up to temperature. Okay, so just to summarize the first session that I pulled in with a 35% state of charge, I immediately pulled 71 kilowatts. I charged up to 50%, and I believe when I unplugged at 50%, I was at 101 kilowatts. Pretty much around right where I thought I would be. Now, what I'm doing is I'm driving the car from 50% down to 35%, and I want to arrive back at Trumbull to that same 150 that I plugged in at to see what kind of energy I'll pull. I need to make sure that when I enter the destination to go back to Trumbull, that I do it in the car's navigation system. I mean, don't put in Trumbull, I'm not going to put in Trumbull into my Waze and expect Waze to talk to the car, even though there's Apple CarPlay. That kind of integration doesn't exist. But if you use the car's navigation and you choose the destination out of the POI, meaning the points of interest that are specifically DC fast charging locations, then the car will know that you're heading to a DC fast charger. Now, the question is, at what state of charge is it going to actually turn on the battery preconditioning? At what temperature is the battery going to be at when I arrive back to Trumbull to the DC fast charger? And what temperature is the battery pack at right now? Now, I can tell you that at a 49% state of charge, which is what I'm at right now, the minimum cell is at 15 degrees Celsius, and the maximum cell, there are 12 packs, 12 cells in the big battery pack, is 20. So, I'm hoping that minimum 15 gets up to at least 20 by using battery preconditioning. That's going to be critical. Otherwise, when I pull in, it's not going to be able to pull the optimal amount of energy. So we're going to have to see what happens. So I think I'm going to turn on I'm going to put in my destination of Trumbull. Let's do that right here. We'll go to home. We'll go to destination. We will choose POI categories, EV charging, and it'll say, okay, here are all the destinations. Now I'm going to choose Westfield Trumbull Mall, and I'm going to set that as my destination. And the other thing to keep in mind is that I do have battery preconditioned, the little check mark in the new software. Well, this car has always had it because it's a 2023, but you need to make sure that is checked. Now, here I am at a 49% state of charge. I'm traveling on the Merit, doing 65, allegedly, and I am not preconditioning at this point in time. So we will have to see when the battery preconditioning kicks in to see how effective it's going to be. A lot of it's going to be dependent on what temperature it thinks it should be at when I arrive back in Trumbull. We'll see. I'll check back in a little bit. Okay, so a brief update. I just turned actually 43% state of charge down from 50, and I am 18 miles away from Trumbull, and the battery preconditioning just kicked on. My battery currently, I'm looking at my car scanner app, which I use the VPeak OBD2 adapter to check out the temperature of my battery, and I'm at 15 degrees Celsius, the lowest temperature. Just a brief update, I'm now 10 miles away from Trumbull EA, and I'm at a 38% state of charge. Battery preconditioning is still on, and my battery pack has warmed up from, it started off with the coolest of the 12 at 15 degrees Celsius, and the warmest at 20, and now it's currently at 18 degrees Celsius, the coolest, and 24 degrees Celsius. Okay, so I just got off the exit for Trumbull, the EA station here in Connecticut, and I'm at a 32% state of charge. So I took it down from 35 to 32. And what's really interesting, couple of things. battery preconditioning just turned off. And why did it turn off? Well, my battery temperatures minimum is now 21 degrees Celsius and maximum is 27. So what that tells me is that the software worked perfectly. It knew how far away I was from EA. Nice Beamer over there with a little exhaust. I don't think that's an EV. And so the software worked perfectly to determine when to turn the battery preconditioning on. And just about a half a mile ago, it turned battery preconditioning off. Why? Because the conditions were met for the optimal temperature, somewhere between 21 degrees Celsius and 27 degrees Celsius. So I'm super optimistic I'm going to be getting some good speeds here when I pull into this 150. Now, the most I've ever seen on a 150 is, let me turn off this navigation. Turn off navigation. Listen to me.
Move to navigation map screen.
What? End navigation.
Route canceled.
There we go. I never know what to say to this thing. I keep talking to it like 3 times. So usually that was only 2 times. Anyway, so the most I've ever seen out of a 150 is 174, 175. So look, if the unit is working fine, the EA dispenser is able to put out its max, and the car is at the optimal temperature, which I would determine that the software has decided that it's at the optimal temperature, somewhere between, now it's at 22 and 27. I would say we have a real good shot at pulling some great speeds here. I'm excited. Oh boy, this is gonna be great. I can't wait. So we're at 22 degrees Celsius and 27 in the pack. I think my battery pack is nice and warm. Okay, so I plugged in at a state of charge of 32%. I'm now up to 35%. I was pulling 103 kilowatts when I plugged in. I'm still pulling 103 kilowatts now. However, my battery pack is at 23 minimum, 28 maximum, as you can see here, hopefully, on this on the car scanner app. Now, I have a prediction. When this low number 23 hits 25, we're going to ramp right up. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know why stuff like this excites me, but if you can see this now, I'm at 24 and 29 in terms of the low and high battery temperature. It's buffering between 104 and 105 at a 40% state of charge. Now, it might be that when the battery max we just hit 30 on the top line. So we're 24 and 30 now. Still nothing's changed. I'm still pulling 105. All right. I think it's the bottom, the lower battery temperature that it looks at. It kind of uses like the least common denominator, or whatever it is, the weakest link. So we're at 24 degrees Celsius battery min and 30 battery max. The 30 battery max, it didn't do anything in terms of how much the car is asking for. But I think when this number 24 changes to 25, we're going to see some fireworks here. And fireworks, what do I mean by that? Increased speeds. By how much? I don't know. Here's a Rivian pulling in, and he is not going to be happy when he learns that he's going to have a 350 pulling him. He's going to get 50 kilowatts. Beautiful Rivian, though. It's actually an R1S, which I love, with a roof box, Thule roof box. We're talking state of the art there. Anyway, so still at 24. Now there's an Ioniq 5 here, and he's out of luck because the ID4 is plugged into the 350. 25. Okay. There we go. 25 and 31. Come on. It's pegged at 105. It's not moving. So maybe that's all this unit can give. I would think the car would be asking for more. I'm at a 44% state of charge. It's like waffling between 105 and 106. Let's see what it does. Check back in a minute. Battery temperatures, let's check that out. Where are we at? Battery temperatures are at 26 and 33. This battery is toasty warm, and it should be pulling more than 107 kilowatts. So I have a theory. This unit is not working properly. I mean, if my battery temperature is between 26 and 33, I should be pulling well over 150 kilowatts. So EA, I hate to say it, but you got a problem with this 150 here too, unit number 4 in Trumbull, because that should be pulling. Now, I am at a 54% state of charge. So let me rethink that. I would say pulling 107 at 54% state of charge in an EGMP platform car is too low. I should be pulling in the 120 to 130 range, and I'm still only getting 107. This is just not a good, it's not a good charging session, and I don't believe it's the car. I think it's the unit. So I will report on that on PlugShare, that this unit is not putting out the proper energy. I should be pulling more at a 56% state of charge than 107. I'm going to call Kyle and ask him what he thinks. I want to be fair, but I recall, I would think on this car, I should be pulling at least 120, 130 at a 56% state of charge. Let me make a quick call. Yeah, so I just talked to Kyle, and he agrees with me that at a, I'm now at a 62% state of charge, pulling 104. He told me, Dad, these are Signet units that are probably have some of the power modules failing in them, and I should be pulling much faster. Even on a 150, I should be pulling faster. But look, here's my conclusion for the day. I started off with the premise that battery preconditioning is something that is a good thing to have. And I have proven that it is. I've proven that it does work on this car. I think the software could be a little bit tuned, a little bit to precondition a little bit sooner, because the battery is now warming up as I'm charging it. And I'm currently, what am I at now in terms of temperature? Let's take a quick look here. 28 and 35. So again, that's not too warm, but I think that pulling it at 21 and 25 was, I believe I was at, or 21 and 27. The battery should have been warmer when I pulled in here, and it had every opportunity, the car's software had every opportunity to start that preconditioning sooner than it did. So you'll remember I left EA after the first charging session at 50% state of charge, and it didn't start actually charging or warming up the battery until I got down to 43% state of charge. But look, when I pulled in here without the battery warm at 8 degrees and 9 degrees Celsius, that was when I was only pulling 71 kilowatts. After pulling in and doing at 21 to 25 degrees Celsius, I was pulling 103 kilowatts, 104. I'm still at 67%, pulling 105. So I think the car is asking this unit, this Signet unit, for everything it could give it, and it's just not able to output. So of the 4 stations here in Trumbull, I would argue that none of them are operating properly. Clearly, unit number 1, completely down. Units 2 and 3, which are both 350s, are derated to 50 kilowatts. And this unit here, the max it's putting out is 105. I saw 106 before, and my car is asking, give me more, and it's not able to do it. Having said that, this has been a successful test, and my conclusion is that battery preconditioning, at least on this car, and if you've got a 2022 either Kia EV6 or Ioniq 5, I believe the EV6s can be updated. You have to go to the dealership to get it done, folks, and get it done even if you live in Florida, because there's some chilly nights. So the warmer you can get your battery pack before you plug in when you're road tripping, the better off you're going to be, the longer range you're going to get, the faster charging you're going to get, and I think it's all good. So with that, I'll say thanks for watching another episode of Out of Spec Dave, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care now.